everyone can see the screen I created. Here we go. Should we go? Here we go.
Yeah. Make it so.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. Stand for you. I will drag that. If I can read it, my eyes, man, in this light. Where's that?
Thanks, man.
There's Ewan. Right, let's drag him up. Let's drag it up. Oh, there we go. We can put it near the top so we can stand for Ewan. There we go. Ewan does bring the hair. So yes, good evening everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys in the Baltic Star. There is supposed to be 3 of us, but Ben has broken and he will join us. He's hit a big snag, a terrifying creature in the world of Troika. But he will join us when he can. Thank you for joining us. If you're expecting Traveller, more fool you, because we play Traveller usually on a Friday. And this, as you all know...
Except when we don't.
Except when we don't. This, as you know, is a Saturday, believe it or not. If you were thinking it's a Friday, you've slept longer than you thought. I'm sorry to break it to you. But here we are. And as I said, we're bringing to you Troika. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm going to pass it over to Ewan in a minute because Ewan is the golden barge driver for tonight. And I'd like to point out that Ewan's in a different place with a different camera. And a camera that makes him look like the 5th placed finisher in the Love Island episode. It looks you look very tan.
I think that might be an improvement.
Your teeth look very shiny and you look very tanned. I'm a big fan of both. Right, hang on. Oh, Ben's back. Oh no, he's using his funky. Ben's in his other camera as well. He's in his non-emo camera.
He is. Ben is back.
Now it just looks like he's posing for his passport photo. I don't know what I think about this camera. It's terrible. What's happened to us? We've broken men tonight.
I don't know if you can hear me, guys.
Yes, yeah, we got you. I've got you anyway.
Yes, okay. Yeah. This may not be what you call the best camera, but it may be the best I can do for now.
You still look beautiful. You just don't look like the smartest man in any room. You just look a bit bewildered.
It's been a tough day.
But luckily, as Ben always says, coming together at the end of the day to stream makes any day good. It's the best part of any day, really. And we are very happy to be here, and we're happy to have you guys in chat already. If it is your first time, thank you for joining us. Please feel free to join the rest of the friendly chat. You can see they're pretty friendly, with some good bounce already. Or you can lurk. We love our lurkers, so please feel free if you want to lurk. We won't call you out on it. There's only a couple people we call out, but they're OG, and they don't mind. They know. We'll never call out people that don't want to be. There's a red sun there, which is linked to Traveller, you see. Click on it if you want to spend some points. Someone's already, I think that was Gilly, was it? Stood stand for Ewan. What is the verb? What is the
standard?
Stand. She was standing. She stands for Ewan. There's lots of options. We've got rid of the Traveller ones, but there's some other ones. Feel free to use them. But a quick introduction of who we are, I guess, and then we'll pass it around, and we'll pass over to Ewan. My name is Luke. Hello. I won't say too much about my character at the minute, because I guess we'll do something Ewan can sort that out. But it's hot. Again, if you can hear white noise, it is because I'm the fan I've stolen from my children's room, leaving them sweating and dripping hot so that I can be cool. So yes, if you hear some humming, apologies, but it's summer, and England is not made for it. Across from me, over there, under the wizard's hat, is the man who looks like he's getting his passport photo taken, who looks a million miles away. Normally that t-shirt looks black. He looks like the milk tray man, but it's been shown up for what it really is in this bright light.
Yes, it's worse than that. The camera's going to jerk around every time I reach for my wine, which happens quite a lot.
Keep calm in chat.
Oh, there it goes. It is, of course, our lovely non-GM, therefore just a regular Joe, Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a technical hitch, but we're here and happy.
Certainly are. You know what? I've realised, Ben, a little bit earlier. I think this is the first game that is just the 3 of us, where Ewan is the Golden Barge driver, I think.
I think you could be right.
This is quite important for him, I think. This is quite... Even I haven't done this. and I've had a couple of ongoing games. You're used to it, of course. You're a dab hand. But have you got any advice for young Ewan tonight?
What, dealing with us
Just
and
the
just
two of
us?
us, yeah. No buffers or anything. No one.
No one to keep you in check.
No one a bit more sensible.
I mean, essentially, we're not going to be providing any of the charisma, so you're going to have to do all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make a note.
I think that's basically it. You've got to do much more work because you don't have charming people to make funnies or anything like that.
That's true. He basically's got to carry the whole thing on his shoulders and not let it break him. If there's any silences, it's all on him.
Essentially.
Speaking of which, the man who is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, the golden barge driver himself, 5th place in 2021 Love Island, is Ewan, our friend and comrade. How you doing, Ewan?
Hi, Luke. I'm good, thanks. Was there a 2021 Love Island?
I don't know.
It seems like that would be a bad year to get a load of people together on an island.
It's always a bad year for Love Island, mate.
Well, fair.
How's life been treating you today anyway? You're somewhere different.
Yeah, I am. I'm away visiting some family, so I'm in new locations. I haven't got a train, which is quite nice. It means I can have the door open. But I was saying to Ben there might be the odd fox howl or something. I'm sort of in the middle of nowhere.
We're used to foxes on this stream.
Foxes screech. That's not what you want to hear.
We'll see.
Oh, so why are we playing this game? What's it all about? Like, you suddenly said, I want to run a game. I want to run Troika. I'm like, okay. Sell it to us. Sell it to everyone. What's going on?
Well, Troika is it's heavily influenced and it uses practically, from what discussion I've had with Ben, the fighting fantasy rules. So predominantly it was easier to learn than anything else, so I didn't have to read the whole book. Not gonna lie. No, it is a bit of a throwback to some of that fighting fantasy weirdness and surrealism. It felt like a nice simple system, but something that could run as a campaign really well. And it frankly, I bought the book many years ago, and it's the most glorious, thickly paged, well printed book with wonderful art that I own. So it felt as though I needed to pick it up and read it more, but also to play it. Frankly.
That's a very good reason to do it.
Yeah. I thought so anyway. And you two were foolish enough to come along for the ride, so here we are.
It's who we are.
Everything else fell through tonight.
You had loads of plans, but they all cancelled. Indeed. So I suppose we should begin. Unless you have any more questions about the game or my reason.
No, I have a handwritten character sheet in front of me, which contains lots and lots of information, most of which I don't really understand how to make the best of, but that's fine. We'll work it out as we go.
Yeah, exactly. We will indeed. The loosely named city of Troika is the sole safe waypoint for every form of travel between the spheres that hold our realities. Though direct travel between the spheres is possible, it's not attempted by any beings with any form of intelligence. As before the founding and the widely accepted use of Troika, many mishaps, deaths and consequences were had by beings who attempted to ride the humpback sky to other worlds. Now such travellers spend a night in one of the many blancmange and thistle hotels before continuing on to their desired destination, mostly unaffected. The city itself comprises of several hundreds of hotels, all named the blancmange and thistle, all existing in the veils between dimensions on distant planes of reality, vaguely neighbouring, yet each a long passing dream to the other. All identical, all with different occupants, except, of course, on the Feast of the Chili Arch, when the reality between the hotels becomes much more permeable. The only other thing in the city of Troika is the means by which to leave, be it Eldritch Portal, non-Euclidean Labyrinth, Space Elevator, or Golden Sailed Barge. No one is entirely sure how such a place came to exist, or the reason for the safety provided by the Golden Oasis, that is, the resplendent Troika. But we are all thankful for its existence, especially the few permanent denizens that call it home. And that is where we find Lucy the Console. Lucy, as you near the end of your journey on whatever form of interdimensional transport is used to get to and from your homeworld, we can come up with that later if you wish. Your vision's blinded by an expanding white and golden kiss light before it gradually and comfortably returns to you, and you find yourself stepping through the entrance doors to your blancmange and thistle. Before you lies an extravagant foyer cast in gold and chrome, chandeliers, ironwork, thick, colourful, mismatched carpets, paintings of every style and era, guests nestled in little nooks, sat deep in chairs seemingly built just for them. Mandrills everywhere, in red uniforms and hats gilded with golden thread and detailing to match the hotel's aesthetic. The smell of brass polish and artificial cherry lingers in the air. And in front of you, there's a concierge desk with a sign a sign indicating the lift to the left, the stairs to the right. Behind the concierge desk, there is a well-dressed mandrill in their uniform. And before we jump right into it, what does Lucy look like as she walks through the door?
She is young, relatively, but it's hard to tell exactly her age just by glancing at her. She has a very round face and quite wide, innocent-looking eyes, which belie the fact that she's had to grow up fairly quickly and found her way in the world a little bit of a sudden change from what she originally anticipated. She's not particularly tall. In fact, even for a woman, she's a very middling height, and she wears a dark green robe of fairly bulky nature at the top, which seems to have been cut down the sides in order to make it more effective for rapid movement and any physical activity that might be needed. The most distinctive thing about her, beyond her straight blonde hair, which is quite long, is that she has a large staff which she walks with, clasped in her left hand. She uses it like a walking staff. The bottom of it has a steel tip, and all the way up it there are a number of moving devices which are like little slide rules wrapped around the staff for carrying out various calculations and magical plannings and settings. Some of them have multiple moving parts, some only one or two. Some she uses to track her status, to keep track of numbers that are important to her. But most are used for doing live calculations on the fly. And the nature of them is that they are quite noisy. On this floor, the steel tip makes a pretty sharp crack every time it lands, but that's joined by a little clatter and jingle from these metal wraparound components. So that's how she appears. This is her first journey, yes, between the spheres.
I've lost Ewan for some reason. Ben, have you still got Ewan? He's gone missing for me.
Yes, I've still got him. Sorry. Luke, did you lose Ewan?
Yeah, I still have. It's just his picture now at the minute, which is not ideal.
Yes, that's weird. I've got both of you. Apparently you've lost each other.
Ah. It's like the story of our lives. We're like star-crossed players. Sound, I can't hear you at all, Ewan. I can't. And the problem is it runs through mine, so if you've lost me... Hang on,
Ewan's reconnecting now, Luke.
There we go.
For some reason, I still had Ben, but I lost Luke.
I'm
not sure what to make of that.
We're back together. We're back together, though. Back together.
The boys are back in town.
Forever.
My apologies. I don't know what that was. But yes, as you enter and as you take in your extravagant and new surroundings, I suppose, the well-dressed mandrill at the desk sees you enter and snaps into a very proper posture and greets you with a calm and deep, "Good day, miss. How may I be of service?"
Very nice to be here. As you can tell from my outfit, I'm here on important business. But I'm here to meet someone. Is there somewhere I can wait?
He looks you up and down and taps away with a couple of luminous buttons on a sort of what appears to be a wooden desk behind the counter, and you see what is the image next to you in on stream. Basically, pops up as a light purple hologram and sort of spins around, and he looks down and looks back up at you and looks at the way you're dressed and says, yes, of course, we have plenty of nooks and crevices around the lobby. There are several tables. There is a bar just to my left, and he gestures off to the side towards a door. Please take your pick. Who are you meeting? They may already be waiting.
If you'll forgive me, I think we'll recognize each other. I will be able to recognize him by his nature, and because I've seen him before, and he will recognize me by my fez. And there's a brief pause, and I think about this for a moment and reach into my pack and pull out my fez and put it on top of my head. He'll be able to recognize me by my fez.
The mandrill sort of follows it up with their eyes to the top of your head and nods and says, "But of course, it is a fine looking fez, man. Please roam about the foyer and the bar as you see fit."
Bar, you say? Thank you. Yes, bar will do well. I glance around until I spot the bar, nod to the helpful mandrill, and make my way over to find a place to quietly sit and have a drink.
Yeah, it should be noted that the bar is through it's not directly in the lobby of the hotel. It's through a door. Luke, I will leave it completely and entirely up to you when you want to jump in from this point, I guess, and where. But Lucy, you see to the left of the concierge desk that there is a neon garlic bulb, essentially, that is sort of cycling through the colours of the rainbow and perhaps a few others that you're not quite so familiar with. And it just says bar across the middle, and there is a door.
I'm definitely going to investigate the bar. That will be my first port of call, because it's the bar. So yes, I'm going to walk through there, find myself a drink, find myself a table, and settle down, and think about my fez.
Perfect. You go through the door, and some equally extravagant and chrome and gold laden stairs lead you spiraling down towards an area that eventually opens up into a much larger bar area. It's very familiar of what you would expect a bar in a hotel, I'm assuming, on your home world to be, if there's not such a thing. But obviously, all clad in gold. There is as you enter the door at the bottom of the stairs, there is a blue spinning light behind the bar on the ceiling that suddenly goes from dark to spinning round, and you see this almost flashing blue light for about 5-10 seconds maybe. Behind the bar, there's a couple of bottles, and there's a series of jars, large jars with what things that you can't quite make out from this distance. And there is music playing. The music is I'm going to read this description out because it's very important. The music sounds like several lions roaring at the bottom of a well while someone plays the tuba energetically. That is playing constantly in the background through cycling songs, and there's a couple of tables with people sat at alone, and there's a group over in one of the corners.
There are vacant tables.
Yes. There are many vacant tables. Whilst the lobby of the hotel looks reasonably busy, it's not so busy down here.
Okay. For the time being, I'm going to walk over to the actual bar within the bar, so to speak, and secure myself a drink.
Wonderful. As you approach the bar, a figure turns around, and you can see a very elderly dwarf lady with sort of very long white hair and a very florally type top. And they approach up to the bar as they see you approach, and in a very loud, proclaiming voice, they almost too loud for the size of the room. They shout at you, "Hello, sir. What can I get for you?"
What do you mean, sir? I will. I'll frown a little bit and then say, are there sort of things on display along the bar? I mean, things that I can identify.
I would say they're not necessarily things that you can identify, but have you got any skills that are related to food and drink at all?
Not really, no. Nothing of note. And I feel, second sight isn't going to be all that helpful at this point.
You would get the impression it's probably not. But I tell you what, we're gonna go into a mechanic of the game, and we're gonna make up a new skill. Which is basically, if there isn't, the skills list in the game is reasonably short but covers most things. if there is a skill that is required and not there, we can just make up a new one. I would like to suggest that maybe something along the lines of identify food and drink.
Yes. Okay.
So what you can do for this is you can give me a roll under, but obviously you have a 0 in this currently, so you need to roll under your skill total for identify food and drink, which is effectively your skill plus 0.
Okay, that means I need to roll under 6 total.
On 2d6, yes.
On 2d6. It's a challenge. And it has not gone well. I mean, not at all well.
I can't quite see that far, if I'm honest.
That's an 8, so it's a failure.
But yeah, I could have assumed. Okay, you look behind the bar and you can see these. Whilst you might not be familiar with what is inside of them, you can see there are these rubber-sealed top jars that are full of. Each has its own item in it, but there are many different ones across the back of the bar. You would assume they are pickled somethings. And then far away in the right-hand corner, as you look at the bar, there's a selection of about 5 or 6 bottles that all sort of look the same.
Okay. I'll point expansively at one of the bottles and say, I'll have one of those.
The dwarven lady behind the bar takes a little bit of a step towards you as you're pointing and says, "Oh, I'm in the same loud voice. I'm sorry, miss. My eyes are as bad as my hearing." He taps on her ear, but walks over to the selection of bottles that you pointed at and pours one out. Brings it back over to you.
Okay. I will thank her, but not effusively. And is there a place to sit at the bar, or there aren't any bar stools or anything like that?
There is about 4 bar stools, none of which are in use at the minute.
Okay, then I think I'll sit at the bar for the moment. Because I think dwarven barkeep, who is deaf and blind, might be a useful source of information, because she's not going to miss anything.
I mean, presumably her eyesight is slightly better than her hearing, given the blue flashing light that, as you entered, started spinning. But who knows? Perfect. You pull up a seat at the bar and sip away at your drink. I assume you sip away at your drink.
Yes. I'm going to have a taste of it to see, if it's nice and if it's toxic. Because a lot of different kinds of people come through this place. You never know what other people's tastes might be from completely different realities.
Yes, that is true. As it hits your nose at first, you get a very strong florally smell. And then as you take the first sip, it's a very thick, syrupy, and reasonably strong alcoholic-wise, but very herbally tasting drink.
Okay. Herbally sounds appealing to me at the moment. That's nice. I'm not going to drink it quickly. I'm going to, savor it and take my time. And I'd like to cast a glance around to see if I can spot anything about the other patrons in the bar for a moment.
Okay, fine. Is there anything in particular you're looking for, or do you just want a general...
I just want a sort of general perspective of who they are, how they're dressed, how they're grouped. Are they all sitting in one place, or are they scattered? That kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. So there are... Sorry, let me just count up very quickly. There are, in fact, there's 2 people sat at tables by themselves. And then in the corner nearest the door by the stairs on the way out, there is a group of 3 men and 1 woman that appear to be all together, but they seem to be sort of packing up their stuff and It's weird. They're carrying around what appears to be a selection of very heavy cast iron gridirons, some cooking utensils, and a couple of them are sort of throwing hooks of prime cut meat over their back, and they're having some very animated discussion between themselves. It all seems very civil, but they're clearly very excited about what they're doing.
Okay. They're packing up to go, are they?
Yes.
All right. I think I will let them meander off. And what are the others like? The people sitting alone?
So the other people that you can see that are both sat on their tables alone. There is a you can't tell their gender just by looking at them, but there's a rather slender looking figure in a hooded sky blue cape, almost like vestments, adorned with sort of a trim in like a very gunmetal grey, and they've got a symbol sewn into the front of their clothes, sword by their side, and they've got a bow and a quiver sat down next to their table.
Okay.
And the other person, I would say you recognise this particular person's trade. They're probably scattered throughout the spheres, but there is an Ep1 or seer or soothsayer, a woman with a very short, sort of dark pixie cut, and you know exactly who she is and what her trade is by the fact that they are wearing their yellow coif and habit. That is a well-known sign of somebody of this trade that they are currently open for business.
Mm-hmm.
They are seeing customers who wish to find out something. They are sat there at the table. It's slightly further away. It's a bit more difficult to make out much more detail about them. And that is everybody apart from the good bar woman and yourself, unless Luke wants to jump in. That is in the bar.
It's not everybody, because as Lucy has clearly sort of seen what she wants to see and turns back towards the bar, she will sense that there is a figure now sat next to her, and she hears his voice. So is the drink any good? Worth ordering? The voice is low. It's quiet. It's not for other people. It's just for the two of them.
Lucy smiles and glances down at it. It tastes medicinal, with a slight aftertaste of sadness.
It's a suitable drink, and he tries to get the dwarf bar lady's attention. And
how'd you try and get the dwarf bar lady's attention? Just
by waiting till she's vaguely looking in that direction and waving a hand to see if there's movement.
Yeah, cool.
And saying, "Excuse me, one more, please."
She catches the movement of your hand, and as you start speaking, you can tell that she's intently focusing on your lips and your actions, as if she's trying to either read from your body language or read your lips as to what you're saying. But as she intently looks at you, what does she say?
Well, Carl Armfried, as he is a man who is doing all that he can to not stand out in what he wears. And that's important because physically he would be prone to stand out a little. He's quite a tall man, quite slight and tightly wound. No wasted movement, no wasted body fat. Not that we can see his body so far, but he looks like a high jumper, something like that. He's got a thin face with sharp cheekbones, and it's kind of for a man trying to sort of blend in, it's kind of a sad state of affairs that he and Lucy do indeed look like quite the double act. Everything that she is, he's the opposite, and everything that he is, she's the opposite. He's a man that in every action that he's doing, you would be able to tell if your eyes were better than hers that he did not enjoy having to talk loudly to order the drink. He does not seem to want to cause a scene. He was able to quietly walk in with no one paying attention to him. His clothes are of the standard wear of the planet, the sphere that they've just come from. Straight out of the standard shop, the standard store. Standard colours, nothing bright, nothing particularly dark. Big fan of beige, big fan of some blues and greens. It's very standard cut. If you looked super close, you might see the clanking of a curved sword by his leg, but he's far from the only person carrying weapons around these parts, and so you probably wouldn't give it a second look.
Yeah.
And with him, he carries a bag, one unadorned, not jangly, not special, quite road beaten and comfortable.
Perfect. The dwarven lady doesn't take in any of your appearance whatsoever because you blend so perfectly into the small crowd that is here. But she grabs a fresh glass, turns it back to the bottles, pours it again, and as she turns back towards you, she shouts over your shoulder to the large group that is now making their way out of the door and leaving. And when I say shouts, her talking voice is like shouting, so her shouting voice is booming. But there is a booming voice that comes across the bar that says, "Have fun at the party. Enjoy the grilling." And then brings over your glass, puts it down on the bar, and says, How about you? Are you heading up to the roof party for the feast later? And she's addressing Carl specifically, but depending on how group-like you are.
We were going to see, I guess, how the evening went. Open to suggestions. You know how things are. It would be folly to make a strong plan without knowing everything you need to know about what will happen today. Thank you for the drink.
She takes a couple of minutes to intently stare at you and sort of sniffs herself, and "I don't stink," she shouts back at you. And then turns away in a bit of a huff to leave the two of you at the bar.
A friend of yours, Lucy?
Not anymore, it seems. So this party, had you heard about this before?
On the way in, I heard a couple of people mentioning it. Could be interesting if our next move is not until tomorrow. at earliest, I would imagine. I've booked it.
I think you're right.
To stay, I'm sure. So, could be interesting if you can get in. I know you're one for trying things out, looking around, seeing what's about.
I'm a believer in experiencing things. I've seen very little of the multiverse. And the parties we had back home, they were a bit, what's the term? Brutally formal.
I remember the first one that I was required to attend on getting to your home world, and I would agree it was not something that I would have wanted to go to again.
It's just the way we used to do things. It's nobody gets invitations to such things; they get instructions to appear. It sucks some of the joy out of them, I think.
Some of the spontaneity, perhaps.
Yes, and you see the same people all the time, the same environment all the time. It's not something I really looked forward to. But a party somewhere else, a party here, a party with new people and new things to see and do, that might be an eye-opening experience. I say that literally. I'm planning to have my eyes open.
It helps when you're walking, if nothing else.
It's true. Yes.
Well, if you wish and you wish to not go alone, I'd be more than happy to come and have a look around and see what's going on. It's nice.
That sounds very good.
Yeah. I hope the drinks there are tastier than this one. The taste of sadness definitely overpowers the taste of herbs in mine.
Yes. I can't help but feel, though, that sometimes what one gets out of a drink is largely what one brought with one.
You're so deep as always. It's what drew me to conversations with you. I'd enter the conversation happy and leave glum but thoughtful and learning more about myself.
Well, if I can do that, then I've achieved something important.
You have. Not everyone is made to be a clown, after all.
Certainly not on my world. I'm sure there were clowns, but I presume they were all exterminated.
I guess they weren't seen as important or high enough.
Pretty much, yes. People of note didn't want to do it, and people of not note, well, nobody noticed.
Well, of course, long ago in many worlds, clowns were the ones that could speak truth to those in power, so it makes sense for those in power to kill the clowns.
I think those in power on my world have never been a big fan of having the truth told to them.
Sadly not. But there are many truths, I suppose. And there are many
Certainly many interpretations of truth.
There's many paths.
And at this moment, I'm wondering about what path we have to follow in order to get into the party.
It's about at that point in the conversation when you start, when things get a little bit more dark and serious, that there's almost a movement change in the ridiculous music that was playing in the background. The energetic tuba continues, but the roaring lions are replaced with whimpering dogs, or an animal, not actually dogs, but that's the closest description I could probably give you.
I see.
How long did you, on your world, did you have enforced tuba lessons as on mine growing up?
Not tuba, no. There was, of course, music, but it wasn't something that people took very seriously. It was considered a frippery, like art and literature and human rights. They were tolerated but not actually embraced.
Wow, that explains a lot about the towns and cities that I walked around while I was there. Very joyless, serious places.
Yes, I think that's true. Even the most powerful among my fellow countrymen lacked any sense of enthusiasm for almost anything other than maintaining their position of power.
Well, I think it's important to be enthusiastic about what you do, and to find artistry in your skills and in your hobbies and in your desires.
I'm very hopeful that that's one of the things I will find on our journey together.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll learn more about ourselves, each other, and other worlds as we travel on. And more importantly, we'll learn more about how people party.
Well, hopefully.
And it's at this point that the music cuts out briefly, and there is an announcement from somewhere. You look up and you can't see any speakers from whence the music was coming. But it is I'm assuming, Luke, you said you've checked into the hotel, right? Was that?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yes.
So you both recognise it as the voice of the mandrill from the front desk, and they say, ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, the Feast of the Chili Arch party is about to begin. Please make your way to the roof, where a selection of food and drinks will be waiting for you, along with the festivities. And then it cuts back out, and the music comes back in. This time the equivalent of whimpering dogs is replaced almost by like a chorus of birds, but the cheaper music lingers on.
Before we go, Lucy, would you join me at one of the darker tables just for 5 minutes while we finish our drinks? There's something I'd like to do while we have a moment of downtime.
Of course. I will hop up and follow him.
And I'll go looking for the quietest, darkest table. Yeah, if that's okay?
Yeah, of course. There's a couple sort of in between the shortest side of the room from the door that are there. The slightly bigger side of the room that is that has more tables and has a longer stretch from the door to the parallel wall, has the two people sitting at sole tables. There's certainly somewhere dark you can find there. Let me just quickly double check something, and I'll be right with you. If you could make an awareness roll for me.
I can do that.
So roll under your skill plus your awareness total, just to gauge the most secluded part of the room, I guess, if that's what you're after.
I have awareness. My skill is 5 and my awareness is 1, so that would be 6. So I need to hit 6 and below or under 6?
2d6, 6 or under.
6 or under. Which is, I hit a 6.
Wonderful. So first off, what you can do is if you could put a little tick next to your awareness skill for me, it will get rubbed out eventually. But essentially, when you reach a certain point in your storyline and you have time to reflect on what you've learned and the successful tasks that you've undertaken, you can make a roll to attempt to level up 3 skills.
Ooh.
But you have to have been successful in those skills. So you put a little tick there just to note that you've been successful of it. And what you what you notice and what you would assume after that announcement is that nobody's going to be coming back down to the bar because there's a selection of more alcohol and food on the roof. So you're probably better off taking one of the two tables by the door, by the closer to the door but further away from the two people who don't appear to have moved.
Yes, that sounds perfect. I will. I'll head straight there and sit down, facing into the room, and before Lucy even gets there, I'll sort of reach into my bag, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
And sort of looks up to see if Lucy's going to join him at the table.
Yes, I'm definitely following to the table.
Remember, Lucy, as I said, it's important to take enjoyment in what you do and understand the artistry of it. And checking that no one's paying attention, he's going to pull out some bits and pieces, and I'd like to, as it's during downtime, I'd like to try and create a single dose of poison, please.
Yes, that is totally something you can do. Or attempt to, at least.
Yeah.
If you could make a roll, or not versus, under your poison for me, equal to or under your skill plus your poison.
I do have skill in poison. It is one of my skills. Awareness in poison. What kind of character am I, really dear viewers?
Foolish thing to undertake if you do not have any skill in it.
Oh, these are good dice, I tell you. I'm glad I picked these because the other ones roll high and these are rolling low. 4. 4.
Perfect. So you make one of the 3 selections of poison. You may choose which you're attempting to make, and you can put a little tick next to your poison skill as well. You don't get any odd looks. Everyone seems to be just getting on with their business.
So into one of my poison. Were my poison vials that I started with empty that I'm filling, or were they full of stuff?
You started with 3, but you can totally have extra vials with you. That's not a problem.
Okay, I'm going to make a poison. I'm going to make poison number 3, which I will say to Lucy. I'll say, and if I've done this right, dear Lucy, if there's anyone in this party that's boring you tonight, slip this into what they're eating or drinking, and if they ingest it, they will fall unconscious, and you will not need to worry about them anymore. See it as a get out of jail free card, I guess.
Well, that's wonderful, thank you. If I don't use it at the party, does it still hold its efficacy for a while?
Yes, I've carried them around for a while in the past, and they've seemed to work. There's no best before date on it, but does tend to curdle a little bit after too long. And
okay, thank you. Fantastic. That's a generous and suitable gift, I feel.
Well, that's what friends are for. Now, lead the way. I can see you already looking excited. Your eyes are wide and glowing, even more than normal.
Well, yes. And I feel my fez will fit in nicely at such an event.
It always has done before.
Mm.
It's very jolly, your fez.
Thank you. I've always found black to be a very jolly colour.
Me too. That's why I like it so much. That's why we make such the pair.
Herbal drinks, sadness, black. Gotcha.
Poison.
So are you both making your way upstairs? Is that the plan?
Yes. As we go out, are we going... When we first head upstairs from the bar, are we going to go close to the mandrill's desk?
Yes, there's a spiral staircase up, there's a door at the top. As you go through the door, you come out. If you're looking at the desk from the opposite, the door is on the right, so it will be... The desk will be on your right as you come up.
Okay. Then I shall stride over and ask the mandrill about the party, if I may.
Hello, miss. What? Yes, of course. What would you like to know about the party?
Just directions for the moment, and if there's anything we should be aware of in terms of dress code or common courtesies.
Common practice at the party is not to. I would never correct you myself, of course, but is not to call it a party. It is in fact the feast of the Chili Arch. I would not recommend calling it a party at the party. Aside from that, there are a few rules other than the general rules in civilized company. It's strictly the food and drink is free as everywhere in Troika, being a necessity. But it is a strictly bring your own fireworks or procure them off of another guest. And he gestures around to the lobby where there are groups of guests wandering around with bundles of fireworks under their arms. The party is of course on the roof, as is the only safe place to undertake such a gathering.
I can see if there are going to be a great many fireworks, the roof seems a logical place. Yes. Forgive my ignorance. I'm very new in this place. The word Chili Arch, it means something. It's not just a random collation of syllables.
It's the name of the feast. It's the way it has always been. It's the way it will be. Certainly for as long as I'm here, madam.
I follow that it's the name of the feast. I'm just wondering, if I were naming a feast, I would name it in honor of a thing, and that thing would have a name, and then I would probably associate the name of the feast with the name of the thing, which makes me wonder, if there is a feast of Chili Arch, what is in fact a Chili Arch?
Of course, this makes perfect sense as Madam explains it. I can't say that I've ever given it a second thought myself. There is no Chili Arch at the feast, if that's what you are inquiring. That is the name of the feast. That has always been the name of the feast. It will forever be the name of the feast, as long as I'm here.
So, we don't know what a Chili Arch is, but we know it's a feast.
Yes.
We know it's not a party. They're not going to give away free fireworks, but we may be able to obtain some if we want them. And it's on the roof. That's very clear.
That is all correct.
I can't imagine how we can possibly go wrong. Thank you very much for your insights.
It is, as always, my pleasure. And he nods his head.
Excellent. I turn back to Carl and I say, shall we head up to the roof? There's a feast of some kind for a reason that is impossible to determine, where apparently fireworks will be let off for no adequately explored reason, of which we have none. But we can apparently buy them if we need to, but apparently that's optional. However, there will be food and drink and a rooftop.
This already sounds like it could be the best party you've ever been to, Lucy.
It already is, and I haven't even got there yet.
Oh, it's so... I feel like travelling with you is going to bring such joy to me, just to see the new experiences that you're going to undertake.
Yes. Well, I hope I can also be useful to our joint venture, but in the meantime, I hope to experience some things on the way.
I'm sure we will. So, let's start with this. Lead the way.
Excellent. Is there an obvious route to get to the roof?
There is, in fact, just to the other side of the concierge desk. There is a a glass sheet that has a neon map of the hotel essentially laid out. So there's the ground floor, 6 floors, and a roof. There is sorry, let me just check which way is which, and then I'll get back to you. But there is a lift to one side and a stairwell to the other, which run the length of the building, each with exits to a different floor.
Okay. All right, then I am going to beckon to Carl and make my way towards the lift.
Carl winces a little when he sees that the lift is the option, but he will follow just as Ben vanishes.
Completely vanishes.
And so Carl will take the lead in pressing whatever is needed to partake of the lift.
Glorious.
Lucy,
Hello, Ben.
I've pressed the button, Lucy.
Sorry.
I pressed the button while you zoned out for a bit, Lucy. The lift is on its way.
Okay.
The lift is to the left of the concierge desk. There is there is no button, but there is a chain sunk into the wall, essentially. The outside of the doors are solid chrome and very shiny. As you make your way down to the lift, that smell of sort of artificial cherry and brass polish that was in the air, the cherry changes to an unfamiliar fruit, but it is very much a fruity smell, and you can still smell the polish quite strongly. Do you pull the chain?
Carl will pull the chain.
Okay.
Wincing a bit at the reflection and seeing how bright it is, I guess.
Yes, perfect. I mean, it gives you the opportunity to look at yourselves side by side and the odd antiness of Carl to Lucy and Lucy to Carl. Makes you think for a minute and ponder the reasons you came here and think of home and many other things. Eventually, there are no numbers above the top of the lift, but eventually you hear a ding from inside, and the doors open, and inside there is a cage. It's a very thickly carpeted floor once again, but you see the cage doors get slid open by a very small mandrill in the same red uniform with gold thread and detailing, who opens the cage door and gestures, holds a hand out, nods towards you, doesn't say anything, and invites you in.
Excellent. I will plaster a big smile on my face and stride in.
Carl will enter too, and stand with his back against the back wall, looking straight forwards at the back of the mandrill, I guess.
Lucy will stand essentially next to the mandrill, facing the doorway, in the hope that at some point it will open again. She's quite optimistic.
Wonderful. The mandrill closes the iron door behind you, the cage door, pushes a button on the inside, and the outer doors of the elevator shut, and then looks up at you sort of expectantly.
We wish to go to the feast, please, on the roof.
They nod, turn around and push another button. The lift very slowly and smoothly begins to move. They stand there very, very proper, very within their job and their role. And as you reach the first floor, there are no number buttons on the inside, but there is a a graduating rainbow of colours, sort of as the lift buttons go up that light up as you reach the first floor. And as you reach the first floor, there is another ding, and the mandrill. The door opens from the outside. The mandrill opens the iron cage door, and there's an equally tiny, an adequately tiny, in the same sort of proportion as the mandrill is tiny. There is a tiny old lady with a handbag and a shawl and very, very white curly hair and some glasses on. And she walks in and she thanks the mandrill and passes it she reaches into her handbag, passes it over what you can see to be a red, what looks to be a sweet. And the mandrill grabs it and shoves it in their mouth and seems to recognize the lady, closes the doors, pushes the button, and you begin moving up again quite smoothly and quite calmly. The old lady looks to the both of you, and she examines your staff, Lucy, not in a very close and personal way, but she's clearly looking it up and down. And she says, where are you from, my dear?
I hail from Helvetica. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I'm very happy to be here. Are you familiar with this this feast?
Oh, the feast on the roof. Yes, I've lived here for some time. I'm not familiar with Helvetica, no, but I am familiar with the feast. And she, as she's saying this, she reaches into her bag and pulls out a brown paper bag and holds it towards you and says, "Would you care for a bonbon?"
I would love one. Thank you. I will take a bonbon.
Wonderful. And you reach inside, and if you could roll a d6 for me, please.
I can.
Mouse traps. The oldest trick in the book.
That is a 2.
Okay, wonderful. If you could just make a note that you have a red bonbon.
A red bonbon. Yep.
And she says, "Oh, I do like the red ones. I'd recommend though that you save it and you don't spoil your dinner. Have it after. Dinner."
Thank you. Excellent advice. I pop it in my rucksack.
And then she looks over to your companion and says to Carl, she says, "And how long will you be staying here?"
Oh, haven't decided yet. It's a lovely shawl you've got. Did you make it yourself or did you buy it?
I did indeed, my dear. I made it with my own hands.
You're very talented.
Pulls out a couple of knitting needles from her bag and then pops them back in just to show you. Well, thank you. Would you like a bonbon? And she offers you the brown paper bag full of sweets.
I feel it would be rude to say no. Let me see how lucky I get.
She sort of turns to the mandrill and says, "Such polite young people. And if you could roll a d6 for me."
That is a 1.
Wonderful. You receive a blue bonbon.
Oh, no, it's not very natural.
And she says the same to you. She says, I'd recommend not spoiling your dinner as well, of course, but you are grown-ups, I suppose, and you may do what you wish."
You're ever so kind and wise. You're not heading up to the feast, are you?
No. My feasting days are long gone. I'm merely back on my way to my room.
Well, have a very pleasant evening. Stay out of trouble. And if we run into you again, it'll be an absolute pleasure. But if we don't, thank you so much for your kindness.
Not at all.
Can I ask the old lady a question?
Of course, you've got a little while to have some
Okay.
form of conversation.
Then I shall say, could you tell me, since you're familiar with the feast, how often does it come around?
Well, I don't suppose I've thought much about it. Tell me, how does time work on Helvetica?
It's quite hard to describe. Theoretically, it happens in a sort of headlong rush in one direction only, which we arbitrarily consider to be forwards, where you're always sort of in the middle of the 7th act of an insanely turgid play, and none of the characters are any fun. It's like there are lots of different days, but they're all a really, really wet Tuesday afternoon.
I see, my dear. That sounds almost as though you long for something more hedonistic. But I can assure you that time is much more malleable here in the city, the city proper of Troika. I would say that the feast, the best way to describe it is about every 10 sleeps for a permanent citizen.
Okay, thank you. And you've been up on the roof, and from the roof, is it possible to see other hotels?
Well, now that is the exciting part of the feast. Normally, the roof is surrounded by purple-hued clouds. There is no noise. There is no sight of any of the other hotels. During the feast, our realities are brought somewhat closer together, and in fact, a large number of neighbouring hotels, more than you would imagine in such a limited degree of viewing, is visible. It's from what I understand, it's part of the reason that the feast exists, is to celebrate this.
That's wonderful. And would I be right in saying that at other hotels, then, they are at the same time celebrating the Feast of Chiliarch?
Indeed, they certainly are.
So does that mean we would be able to see fireworks going up from our own roof, but also from other roofs?
She pauses for a minute and sort of tilts her head and says, this really is your first time here, isn't it?
It truly is.
And then looks over to Carl and says, yes, and then looks back at you. You will definitely be able to see the fireworks from other hotels. He sort of smiles kindly.
That's so kind of you, thank you. And for the bonbon.
It's my pleasure, dear.
I will give her a beaming smile and then turn to Carl and give him a slightly worried look.
Carl's expression doesn't really change too much, especially not while the lady's in there.
And it's about this time that the next gradient of colour on the lights up behind what you can see as the second floor. A ding goes off, the outer door opens, the mandrill slides over the grate, and you see before you there is a a cloud of green gaseous form. Slightly larger than the size of the elevator in which you stand, but it's filled with almost like little balloon type bladders that separate. That support these like decorative, almost jewelry pieces. There's metal work with interladen, colourful stones or gems that are suspended in these bubbles. The gaseous form enters the elevator, sort of shrinks down somewhat into the ironwork cage, and the old lady puts the bonbons back in her handbag, sort of blows out a load of air, exits quickly in a huff and says, I'll just take the stairs then. And before she leaves, completely turns around to you and says, good day, my dears. The mandrill reaches into a little cupboard behind them, pulls out a gas mask, throws it on, and sort of looks at you expectantly with the door still open. Four, three,
I will grab a gas mask.
1.
Same.
They pull the cage door shut. I probably should give you a little bit more time because there is only one gas mask, and it is tiny mandrill sized, and they are currently wearing it. So if you would like to exit, you can exit. If not,
no, I think I might hold my breath though while the door's open if I can, and wait until the lift moves on.
Yes, perfect. Right, so the mandrill pulls a lever behind, and the elevator starts moving once more. Lucy, you're holding your breath. Carl, is there anything that you'd like to do at this point?
Carl will have pulled so around his sort of his neck. He'll have a not a scarf as much, not like but something that he can lift up a bit to cover the bottom half of his face if needed. Not a snood either. I'm trying to think of something that's a bit cooler than a scarf or a snood.
A cravat.
A cravat. A bow tie.
Is it cooler, Ben?
A bow tie. Just
Could be a cagoule.
Almost like a separate hood from what he's wearing, I guess, and it can come up to there, and he just sort of pulls it up over the bottom half of his face, and stares pointedly at the back of the mandrill, I guess, and considers the mist.
Okay, perfect. So as this first round moment in time passes, Lucy, I would like you to make a holding breath check.
Holding breath check.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure you don't have because I just made it up.
No, I'm confident I do not have that. Not under advanced skills.
Yeah. So test your skill, equal to or under.
You know what I can do though? I can assume shape.
Oh.
Is it possible for me to assume the shape of a gas mask?
Let me check your spell and get the wording for it. I'm leaning towards yes because it's awesome. No, it's not larger than a piano or smaller than a cup.
Let me see if this breaks the game.
So I would say that's perfectly acceptable. What you do need to do is you need to test that skill.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could roll equal to or under your assumed shape, your
Yep, which is
test
skill +2 in this case.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm essentially going to do is say gas mask for you, and then try and cast it. Okay. Oh, that's not too bad. That's a 5 total.
Wonderful. As you do this, you lose 4 points of stamina because that is the cost to cast said spell. And Carl, whilst this is going on, you breathing through your shawl or your secondary hood, whatever you want to call it.
We'll come up with a good name for
it. You lose 3 stamina points as you cough and splatter, and it appears to not be helping at all or doing anything. But just in front of you appears a gas mask where Lucy once stood, and then it drops to the floor. It's sort of lying there. The mandrill looks shocked, frankly. It's a good job they were not holding their breath, because there would have been a big gasp if they were.
Carl will shrug at the mandrill and then pick up the gas mask and put it over his head, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's perfectly possible. You are now breathing through Ben.
And I'll just, while it's on my mouth, I'd like Carl will start talking lowly, and he'll say, this is quite a useful form for you. Maybe you should stay like it more often. I think we could sort of this could be quite a regular thing. There's something fetching about it. I think if there's a little black fez as part of it, I think that would really add to it. Have I ever told you the story about the time when I tickled a goat by accident? It was about 18 months ago, and I was caught hiking and found myself surrounded by goats. Big, beefy, woolly goats, with those eyes, and I tickled one just for fun, and he just goes on, just trying to be quite annoying into the gas mask, which he's so helpfully done to save him.
Just a random meandering story that doesn't go anywhere.
Never goes anywhere,
I like it. That's good. Luke, can you... Sorry, I'm going to just quickly double check what your skills are and see if there's anything relevant to telling tales, unless you've got them to hand. And
there's not, unfortunately.
Can you make a telling tales skill check for me?
Yes, so I'll need to hit a 5 or less for telling tales, which I don't. It's a 6. It is a good tale, but not good enough.
Lucy can be as enthralled or not as she wishes. The mandrill sort of puts the fingers in their ears and rolls their eyes. And you are free to do that for as long as you want. There'll probably be a reasonable amount of time, the same time between floors.
Oh, all the way up.
Currently, anyway.
All the way up.
Okay, perfect. You say all the way up. Alas, the lift stops at what appears to be the 3rd button, which lights up at the next radiating hue of colour. The ding sound goes. The iron or the chrome door on the outside opens. The mandrill opens up the cage door, and there is a long hallway in front of you with several doors. The gaseous form gets off and turns to the right, and there is an alcove there. You can't quite see from where you are what's in the alcove, but you can see the gaseous form sort of not gesturing, but there's bits of gas that sort of almost puff out from the main body, and you can hear somebody shouting back, Yes. One of those. You definitely need one of those. I'll be right up, and you can see a small tiny arm reach out from beyond the alcove and tosses a bag to the mandrill, who immediately opens it up, pulls out some kind of fruit, and starts eating it. Almost to they're scoffing their face with fruit after fruit after fruit, and don't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon.
I'm guessing as the guest has gone, Carl will remove Lucy from his face and place her gently on the floor and places reaching the coins we've got, the SPs, are they in physical coin form, Ewan, or are they notes or?
It's physical coins.
He'll carefully balance one on top to see if it will stay on her head as she regrows.
Lucy, you find yourself there. It's still in gas mask form until
I will wait until I've been put down on the ground and then turn myself back into Lucy by just ending the spell.
Perfect. The spell ends. You pop back into Lucy form. The coin that was balanced upon you almost sort of travels up an extra couple of foot in the air, spinning, and then with the expert skill that Carl balanced it on your head, it lands perfectly square in the middle of your head, almost balanced there.
Fantastic. Then I shall take it and go, that's useful, and put it in my backpack.
Yeah, makes sense. It's about this time that the arm reaches out again and throws another bag to the mandrill, who starts pulling out more fruit. And you can see at this point they're not the best. It's like this rotten kind of almost passion fruit looking type fruit that they just keep shoveling into their mouths like they haven't eaten in goodness knows how long. Time's weird in Troika, but probably at least 300 sleeps. The gaseous form flicks over from one of those bubbles. They have a selection of coins in there. You can see they flick over a coin and almost envelop this packet of crisps, and then they make their own way up the lift shaft. So they come back through again for a brief moment. There is no need for you can hold your breath if you want, but there is no need to make any checks for this. Okay. They briefly enter the cage inside of the lift and then make their way up the shaft on their own. All
right. Can I ask the mandrill how long it will take us to get to the roof?
You most certainly can. The mandrill sort of looks at you almost a bit put out by the fact that you're interrupting their eating, and they start shoveling more as they shrug towards you.
Did I spot how exactly the lift was operated?
Yeah, why not? There are a series of buttons. There is obviously you need to close the cage door. There is a button to close the outer doors of wherever you currently are, and then the lift sort of it moves on its own as soon as you've closed the outer doors. The lift movement is almost automatic.
Then in that case, I shall close the doors, please, with us still in the lift.
Yes. As you go to do that, the mandrill, let me just check something quickly. We'll go to slap your hand away as you reach out towards the door. And critically fails their check. The first dice I've rolled tonight. Perfect. And as you go to close the door, they go to bat your hand away and they miss, and their hand gets caught in the iron cage.
Oh no!
Which hasn't locked shut, but they let out a howl and look at you very angrily. Their hand is still trapped.
Which means the door hasn't fully closed. Is that right?
You would assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
They're now jumping up and down in anger and frustration.
I'm going to smile sweetly at the mandrill, and then say, "Any update on that roof estimate?"
They're still quite clearly in some form of distress. Like, this doesn't happen very often, you would imagine. But they look at you and they almost continue howling, but it's a much calmer howling. It's almost as if they are communicating through the howls of a monkey. Mandrill. And then they sort of gesture towards their hand, letting out some more mumbles and howls.
Oh, sweetie, you have a spare.
At this point, they will attempt to push both you and the door towards the far wall to at least open the cage door.
Mm-hmm.
If you could roll some form of anything strength related, I guess, or anything else that you would like to.
Anything strength related. I don't have any physical skills at all unless you count magic spells, and I'm not going to do one of those. So I guess it's just a skill roll?
Yeah, this is a versus roll, so you add your your skill.
2d6 plus 6 in my case. That may not be terrible. That's I rolled a 9, so that's a total of 15.
The mandrill is not getting any movement whatsoever. You stand fast, and you can tell they're trying to push back against you. But they begin howling quite angrily again. And at this point, a small figure hops over the side from the kiosk, and there is there is an egg-shaped being, in a very eggshell-coloured. With a very large mouth and very tiny arms and very tiny legs. Once they've eventually hopped over the alcove, and they say, "What the hell is going on here? What are you doing?"
How large is the egg-shaped being?
They are probably. I mean, they're not egg-sized. They are probably the size of a torso. Their head is probably the size of a torso, but their arms and their legs are much, much more.
Okay. So that they're essentially peering through the almost closed cage door.
Yes, the cage door is in fact see-through. This cage surrounding of the lift is a shell inside of the elevator shaft, and the button for the chrome doors hasn't been pushed yet, so they are still open. They're looking, through that at you.
Okay, then in that case, I will throw the door wide and say, "There's something very wrong with the lift."
They look at you, and they sort of rummage around in a little almost messenger bag on their side, and they say, "Oh well, in that fact, might I suggest you need goose grease?" And they hold out a tin of goose grease. And they say, "Yours for the mere cost of 15 silver pieces here at Hole in the Wall Haberdashery."
That sounds like an amazing offer. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of money on me. Sorry.
Well, what about your friend there? And they gesture over towards Carl. Surely they're in need of, and they start rummaging around again. They're in need of a selection of stuffed owls, and he sort of grabs an owl, a stuffed owl from out of the alcove, and it's perched on like a wooden log.
Carl.
These are a bargain at six silver piece each.
Carl sort of looks a bit nonplussed and frowns a little bit. He'd sort of been leaning back against the back wall, watching everything unravel with just a look of a mix between just sort of boredom and slight annoyance in his face at how everything was going on. And he looks at the haberdashery creature, and he sort of manages half a smile, and he says, "They're lovely owls, but we don't need you, and we don't need your wares, and we don't need your help. So if you could leave the lift, and I'm sure we'll get it moving again soon without any owls or grease."
Their eyes sort of narrow, and they almost squint towards you, which makes you feel a little bit uneasy. And they say, "Well, next time, just be careful. It's all well and good having lift malfunctions, but there's no need for screaming and howling. You make people think that something's wrong. I'm trying to help with my selection of wonderful goods."
We appreciate it, but I think the problem has dealt with itself.
Their look kind of softens, and they look over to the mandrill and give a little bit of a raised head. But you both have the opportunity to do or say something.
Well, the mandrill's hand is now free because I pulled the cage door open. So hopefully it has withdrawn its paw from the space, and I'm going to push the cage door shut again.
Yeah, that totally works. The mandrill is busy tending to their very sore hand. They're sort of, they're basically putting it in a bag of rotten fruits and sort of just trying to soothe the pain with whatever fruit juice or flesh may be swelling around in the bag. And the merchant now looks at the mandrill and says, "That okay, you sort out your lift, and we'll same arrangement next time." And gives him a nod. The merchant nods and turns away. And the mandrill looks at you scowlingly, Lucy, and then looks over to Carl as if for some form of acknowledgement.
Carl just sort of looks back at the mandrill and then reaches into his pocket and says, I hope this bonbon will make you feel better."
Yeah, perfect. What colour bonbon did you have?
A blue bonbon.
A blue bonbon. The mandrill looks over at you, Lucy, and looks over at Carl, and then again at Lucy, and then just grabs the bonbon and pushes the button for the lift.
Excellent.
The lift starts moving. You have a bit of time. If you want to do anything, the mandrill hasn't quite eaten the bonbon yet, but they are making their way through the remainder of the rotten fruit before they do. Presumably.
I'm entirely happy with him eating his rotten fruit, or her or it, eating rotten fruit. I just want the lift to be moving while they're doing it.
Yeah, perfect. The lift is moving. The next light on the lift suddenly starts to fill up, unlike the others where it just flashed on, and changes to the next gradient of color in line. And as it reaches the top, you hear that horrific and unwanted noise of the ding as the lift stops on the now 4th floor.
Mm-hmm.
The outer doors open. The mandrill looks down, nods, and if you were to look out the door, you see a woman stood outside the door, quite nonchalantly, surrounded by. I use the term plethora loosely here because, frankly, one is a plethora when you're talking about tigers in the corridor. There is a large number, more than a dozen tigers lined up around her, in front of her, behind her, to the left, to the right of the corridor of the hotel. The mandrill nods, swings open the cage door, and this lady who is she's got very long, mousy sort of brown hair, quite well built, clearly quite muscular, has a big rounded hat on the top, and has a. They're not carrying it, but they have a chair next to them and a whip in one hand, and they start. They pick up the chair. They start ushering the tigers forward into the lift.
Well, I'm certainly not going to assume shape into a pork chop. That would feel like a poor choice right now. Okay. I will back away from the door into the sort of far corner. Give the tigers as much room as it is practical to give them.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Carl, I assume you're already trying to blend in with the corner.
Yeah, is it easy to tell the sex of any of the tigers as they come
in? Yeah, I wouldn't say that necessarily needs a roll. We get to a certain point of the tigers coming in. The first one to come in is female. As is the second, and in fact, as is the third. By the time 3 are in, it's quite tight. They're squeezed in very tightly. You guys are huddled up in the corner. They are a selection of, sitting as close to a wall as they possibly can. One of them is laid down quite carefree, but is very, very much trying to take up as little space as possible.
Carl wants to ignore the lady at this point, and as the tigers come in, and he'll just look at one of the tigers if possible, and just say to the tigers, "Good evening, ladies. I hope you're having a nice evening."
Yeah, perfect. They all sort of look at you, and one after another, their heads cocked to the side, and then they go back to licking the paw and taking care of their fur. Nothing is said, but there is there's certainly no adverse reaction. That is the point where the lift is clearly full when there are 3 in, and the lady looks over to the mandrill and says, "Don't worry, I'll catch the next one." The mandrill nods politely and sort of tips his hat, shakes off the hand afterwards, and closes the door and pushes the button, and the lift begins to move again.
Still with 3 tigers and the lady in it.
3 tigers, no lady. She is
Okay.
waiting with the tigers on the 4th floor.
Understood.
You 2, 3 tigers, and a tiny mandrill in a lift. Things I thought I'd never say on stream. But it is at about this point that the mandrill, unless are you guys doing anything? Is there anything else you wanted to do?
No, I'm waiting to see what will happen when the tigers decide they're hungry and that mandrills are sort of bite-sized for them.
Sure. The mandrill starts. The tiger that is laid down is sort of laid across the doorway and has their tail end to the mandrill. And the mandrill looks up at you, Lucy, sort of scowls, and then gives a sharp pull on the tiger's tail. The tiger jumps up and immediately bares its teeth and starts growling and looking around the lift, particularly in your direction.
How high? How tall is the lift cage?
It is about your regular sort of, just over your regular sort of one story room.
Okay, so it's only 9-10 feet, that kind of height at most.
Yeah, maybe a little bit taller, but not much.
Okay. I would like to try something if I can. I'm wondering if it is possible to speak with a tiger if I use the languages spell. I'm not sure that you can.
Let me double check the languages as you're thinking about this. As I'm thinking about this, I should really say, the tiger is clearly angry, still baring its teeth and slowly trying to. It's not sudden because there isn't much room to move suddenly in this space, but slowly trying to nudge its fellow tigers out of the way so it can stare you right in the eye and get a little bit closer to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this I would say. I'd say that works.
Okay.
Make a languages spell roll for me.
I will. My languages is +1, effectively. So we will give it a shot. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a 4 rolled. So 6 + 1 is 7. I'm well under that.
Perfect. My apologies. Your other spell check. You should also have ticks next to both of these.
Oh yes, thank you.
Skills that you have successfully completed. So make sure to add one to your assume shape or.
Yep, assume shape and languages.
Yep.
Excellent.
There is a section in the book that explains how this looks, but if you can remember it, have you got it to hand?
The language's description.
You need to make a mouth with your hand, and
yes.
that will allow you to speak the language. You need to cup an ear to your.
You sort of do this. I don't know exactly how you do it. Something like that.
And I expect this to continue for as long as the spell does, Ben.
Oh, okay.
You could also mark down the loss of one stamina.
Yes, I will do that. Apologies.
It's tiring to keep a hand up there.
1 second.
It's more the draining of the magic and the casting of the spell.
Right. Okay. So I will indeed speak with the tiger and say, the mandrill pulled your tail and is rubbish working the lift.
The tiger looks you up and down, and says, "Carl, you hear a series of growls and the odd purr, and you know that weird cat noise that cats make when they've caught something. You hear a bit of that, which is disconcerting to say the least, because they're looking at Lucy like they have caught something. But the tiger, Lucy, you hear, as long as your hand is to your ear, you hear them say, the lift function seems okay. How do you speak tiger?
I sort of continue, because I'm magical.
And there's that tilted head look again as they eye you up and down, and almost try and shift their way round to your flank, whilst looking you up and down very menacingly, still baring their teeth at this point. And why should I believe? Why should I believe you? This mandrill has taken us in the lift before. Nobody pulled my tail. You or your nonchalant friend over there. You're the two that I've not met before.
I'm going to say, the mandrill didn't pull your tail because it dislikes me and wanted you to attack me. And I don't think you should be manipulated that way.
Oh, no.
I will respond, I'm sure if I had a tail, it would have done so.
We've lost Ewan on the mainstream.
Oh. Can you still hear me, Ewan? Yes, I can hear you, Ewan. Can you hear Ewan, Luke?
Nope, not at all. Hang on.
Right, I think Ewan's doing a recycle.
It's back. There we go.
There we go.
Again, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
What point
You're on
did
holiday.
you, Luke?
Pardon?
Sorry. What point did I get to? Where were
I just said, I think the mandrill would have pulled my tail if I had a tail, something like that.
Yeah, cool. And they look at you. Can understand because you can now speak tiger. You can understand the look that they are giving you is very untrusting. They look back at the mandrill, and it's at this point that the mandrill you can now see that the mandrill has cast aside the bag of rotten fruit, pops the red bonbon in its mouth, and immediately doubles in size. It gains significant weight very quickly. Lets out a howl, jumps up to the roof, the iron cage on the roof, in an attempt to hang on to it, and fails miserably, and lands directly on the tiger that is now squaring up to you, Lucy. I will give you an opportunity, either of you, to do something at this point if you wish.
Also, now it's jumped on your back for some reason. This is a very weird mandrill.
Carl, are you happy? Just hanging out in the corner.
Yeah. Carl is, if I know tigers correctly, the thing to do is to look in the eyes, but to seed ground, so that they know that you're aware of it, but you're not bigging up. So he's going to just keep his eye on any, and just make sure he sort of nonchalantly backs away a little bit into the corner, I guess.
Yeah, and calming calming seems perfectly good in this situation. If a howling mandrill hadn't just fallen on the tiger's back, and the tiger is already in some kind of feels threatened in some way, shape, or form, at very least frustrated, they immediately rear up in this small, tiny space. There is mayhem and fur flying everywhere. You are all, if you could all, have you got anything to do with balance? Or I tell you what, if you wish to, you may both test your luck. Luck in this game is often, there are other uses for it in combat, but it's often used to test how a situation finds you and whether you're fortunate enough in a certain situation.
Okay.
I will ask you to test your luck. As with Fighting Fantasy, you will lose 1 luck just by testing it, whether you're successful or whether you fail. You can you can say no, I don't want to, or you can test it. Every 8 hours, you will regain 2d6 luck points, but it will never go over what your starting total is.
Sure. I'm prepared to test my luck. I think it's worth a punt here because this is a fraught situation.
Yeah, perfect. So roll equal to or less than your luck.
Okay, my luck is 9. That was very close. I rolled an 8.
Perfect. And the same for you, Carl.
My luck is also a 9. And I rolled a 6.
Ooh.
Very good. If you could each knock your luck down by 1,
Yep.
but obviously keep a record that your starting total is 9. You do not get to put a tick next to that. Your 3 basic stats will never change, much as Traveller.
Indeed.
Although there's more than 3.
Well, actually, much like Fighting Fantasy, really, you keep record of your starting number, don't you?
Yes, indeed. So you both managed to avoid the ensuing. It's not a fight, but there is definite fur flying. The mandrill lands on the back of the tiger. The tiger leaps up and almost backs into all of the buttons that are on the wall next to the cage. At which point the mandrill sinks its teeth into the back, just out of instinct of the tiger, and the tiger goes rolling around on top of another tiger. You two somehow manage to dance your way around this in the small, tiny lift shaft, and it is at about that point that you hear a ding, and the graduated light on the next step of the lift comes in. The outer door opens. And a male tiger trainer, what you can only assume is a tiger trainer, dressed very similar to the female downstairs, grabs a chair and grabs a whip, throws open the iron cage door and cracks the whip. And as they do so, the lions almost, when you get a cat by the scruff of the neck and they go very limp, like their mother has picked them up. The lion, they almost do that. The tigers almost do that, and lay down on the floor. The trainer looks at you both and says, "What's going on in here? What are you doing to my tigers?"
I glance at the trainer and say, I don't really understand because I'm new here, but for some reason, the mandrill yanked on that tiger's tail and then jumped on its back. And it appears the tiger didn't like that.
The man looks at you and then looks at the mandrill and says, "That's utterly ridiculous. We've been coming here for years. No, I don't believe it. And is it true?" As he looks at the mandrill, and the mandrill just almost side-eyeing you in a very squinty way, just slowly shakes its head.
Hey, lollygaggers! Thank you for the raid. You joined us.
Lollygaggers! Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us.
We're in a lift full of tigers for some strange reason.
Yeah, we're trying to explain away why a mandrill attacked a tiger while we were there. It's harder to do than you might think.
I hope your stream went really well, guys. I hope you had a fantastic time. What were you playing tonight, anyway? What were you playing? Hopefully something enjoyable. And thank you for any minutes that you guys are happy to hang around with before sleep and other things takes you. Oh, 1 ring. Nice. How'd it go? So all survived? No deaths, I hope. Not of you, anyway. Plenty of orcs, I hope. Oh, Ben's vanished. Oh, Ben's... Has he just snuck down into the corner? Oh, Ben's vanished. He got too excited.
I heard him chuckle, but his camera vanished.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me, Luke?
Yeah, he's chuckling from beyond the grave or something.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, it just moved, did it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean. Oh, good. That's good. No, drama is good. Deaths are bad. So I'm glad. A good session had. We're currently in the same position, except I'm surprised that Lucy's not dead yet because she's making terrible life choices by the second. How to make friends and influence people. She has not read.
Indeed, and as the tiger trainer asks you what had happened, and you tried to blame the mandrill looks at you, gives you an evil squint, slowly shakes its head towards the trainer, points up at you, and the trainer gets very upset. They're clearly very distressed by whatever has happened to their tigers, and they approach you and they look at the distress you've caused. You've caused these poor beasts, and he strokes one of their backs. I need at least, and he sort of counts up, six silver pieces as compensation for the distress you've caused for my animals. It's going to take me weeks to calm them down and get them back in a lift again. How am I supposed to get them down off the... And he looks at the buttons and the lights that are lit up. No numbers on the buttons. How am I supposed to get them down from the 5th floor if I can't get them in a lift? You tell me that. And he's sort of making his way closer towards you.
Lucy's not really a believer in being intimidated. So she's going to smile quite sweetly and then say, "That sounds like a you problem."
Was that a sigh if you were going to say something, Luke, or not?
Just a sigh of despair.
They say, well, the tigers might be a me problem, but I'm a you problem. And then almost pauses to think about what they're saying and if that makes any sense. And he's still holding out his hand. 6 silver pieces.
I think you'll find you're going to need to get any money from the mandrill, because all of this was caused by the mandrill.
The mandrill, he turns around to look at the mandrill who's now behind him, and the mandrill automatically stops, like smirking and doing little dances behind his back, almost in making fun and mocking you, Lucy. I can't even remember why this started now, but it appears you've made a mortal enemy.
Because the mandrill made a terrible roll when I tried to close a door and ended up getting his own hand jammed in it.
Yeah, I think so. But they managed to do so. They managed to stop just in time, and the man looks down at the mandrill and says, "I told you," turns back to you and says, "I told you, we've been coming here for years. I know this mandrill. They've never harmed one of my tigers, nor caused them any distress in the lifts. How do you think we've been getting them up and down from the field? We stay in the same room every year. The only variable is you."
Carl would like to walk forward at this point, reaching into his pouch, and he would catches Lucy's mood, I guess, but he's trying to stay calm in the situation, and he says, "I understand your distress. If you're willing to leave us in the lift now with the mandrill and go on your way with your tigers, I can afford 3 silver pieces is all I've got, but I'm willing to give you that as a token of, I guess, when you're around, a token of appreciation for the situation. If you're willing, to take your tigers, I hope you can calm them down and leave us and the mandrill in the lift together. I'm willing to give you that, and apologies for the scene."
First off, yes, Kelly, the mandrill is still at least 2 times the size under the influence of the blue bonbon. They look at the mandrill, they look back at you, and I'm going to say, under the situation, because I'm not actually entirely sure, Luke, how many silver pieces you rolled, but I'm pretty sure it's more than 3.
Yeah.
Can you make a sneak skill check?
I can make a sneak skill check.
It feels like you're being sneaky with your words.
I am, and it's a 5, and I needed a 6 or less, so I hit it.
Wonderful. You can put a tick next to it.
I will.
You have passed that test. They look at you and say, "Fine, 3 silver pieces." Okay. It's not my distress, though. It's these poor animals.
Well, buy them some quality scented candles or something, and our apologies. Now, if you leave us, we've got places to be, and the mandrill has places to take us.
They snatch the pieces out of your hand. I assume your outstretched hand.
Yeah.
You can mark off 3 silver pieces. And they gently sort of usher out their tigers of the lift.
As Carl turns around to sort of get close to Lucy so he can sort of whisper into her ear and says, "When the door closes, can you just get the mandrill's attention?"
I don't anticipate that will be a problem.
And Carl purposefully sort of walks away from Lucy to sort of the other side of the lift.
Wonderful. The reasonably chiseled tiger trainer, you can hear sort of muttering as he makes his way out with his tiger, saying, "Scented candles for 3 silver pieces. What? Unbelievable.
Owls you need, not
tourists, I tell you, they don't know the price of anything." The mandrill firmly almost slams the cage door behind them at this point, looks over their shoulder, giving a glaring look towards both of you this time, more so towards Lucy, and without looking at the button, just pushes the button. The outer door closes, and the lift begins to move.
As soon as it's moving and we're passed away from the floor itself, but the last stop floor.
Yes.
I'm going to slouch against one of the corners at the front of the lift, if that makes sense, and say to the mandrill, I had always believed mandrills were creatures of honor. But now I find you cannot be trusted. That is very disturbing. And I'm hoping to encourage the mandrill, obviously, to focus on me.
Yes, I would say at this point, given the nature of the relationship between the two of you, the mandrill is very much focused on you. They almost spin around immediately, and if they weren't so well trained and, had put up with a lot during their service career running elevators in the Blancmange and Thistle Hotel, they would probably have snapped by now. But they are firmly gazing at you.
While that full attention is done, Carl would like to carefully wrap his garrote between his two hands and approach the mandrill from behind, not with an intent to kill, but what I'd like to do is approach behind and in as deft a movement as possible in an attempt to hoik the garrote around the creature's throat.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to tug it to kill or anything like that.
Naturally. First off, make a sneak check for me.
Okay, which is good. 5.
Wonderful. And then I'm going to make a quick check. Sorry, what's your total for that? I'm going to make this contested.
That's plus, what is it? Plus my skill?
Yes, your skill plus your sneak plus the dice.
Oh, skill plus sneak plus dice. Okay, so my sneak is my rank, yeah?
Yeah.
So 5 plus 6 plus I rolled a 5, so it's an 11.
Okay, cool. As you make your way up behind the mandrill, they are very much have their attention drawn by Lucy. They appear to be making more gestures with their hands, some very agitated conversation, though not necessarily overly aggressive at the minute. They are, after all, hotel staff. Very finely dressed in his red uniform and gold detailing. As you manage to sneak up directly behind them, you pull out your garrote, and as you lift it above your head, they immediately spin round to look at you dead in the eye, and I think that's where we're going to call it.
Anger the beast.
With you holding your hands above your head,
Garrote between them.
Garrote between them,
nonchalantly,
and a very agitated at the end of their rope mandrill.
Yeah, it's like
yeah, straight from there straight down again. So
so thank you both very much.
Ewan, thank you.
Thank you, Ewan.
That's okay. I did notice something about a silly game, but it's my wheelhouse. So much so that I've joked.
Well done. I
Classic
think that
platform.
was enormous fun. Very strange.
Ah,
It was
very
it was a bit Dada-esque.
I'll take that as a compliment. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not all me, obviously. But
No, it was absolutely brilliant. It's a very weird, creative, arty kind of world to go through. It's very different. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Yeah, and thank you everyone in chat for coming along, and thank you anyone who catches up on VOD or anything like that, and thank you to our raiders, and thank you to our regulars.
Indeed.
Yeah, but thank you, Ewan. I had a lot of fun with that.
Good. We the good. You're somewhere between the fourth and fifth floor of a sixth floor plus a roof party hotel. So you're almost at the party.
Doing well.
Well, wherever we are is always the party.
We're getting slowly but surely.
True. Very true.
We are the party, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you, Ewan. Very appreciated.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
And as you say, thank you to everyone who watched. Thanks to all the raiders. Thanks to all the votes. Thanks to all the lurkers. What have we got? What have we got on Monday, Luke?
Monday is Meditative Monday, where I'm going to be continuing my playthrough of Firewatch. A lovely game, a meditative game of a man who's run away from his problems to take a job in a fire tower in an American forest. Things are just starting to unravel a little bit. There's some shenanigans going on that haven't quite
There's a
been
bit of a
clear.
mystery happening, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a mystery happening. Life just can't be simple. There's always things.
There's something strange in their neighbourhood.
There is.
But then
Forest.
we knew there was going to be a mystery because it starts with an M and therefore goes with Monday.
That's true.
Exactly. Critfell, I have watched one, a small fire. That's the one I went to go and explore to find the young women. We've definitely found a lot of knickers so far. And
Yeah, many knickers and a lot of identically coded lockers.
yes, thank goodness, because I would have forgotten the code otherwise.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a strong locker game. This,
And
though
there's been
apparently you're not allowed to get in them.
no, sadly not. That would have been much better. There's also a knickers knicker. It appears someone's knickers to write me a message. So,
Yes, that's right. Yes, and many beer cans. You're quite right, Kelly. There are a lot of beer cans. Luke's been collecting them as fast as he can, but
I've been clearing them up. I didn't have to, but I've been clearing them up. I'm doing a good job, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I feel you've only really scratched the surface of the iceberg, frankly.
Yeah, I think so. There's more to learn, and that's what we'll do on Monday.
Yeah.
So you can all have tomorrow
Wonderful.
off. Spend it how you wish, all of you. It's the Baltic Style weekend over the summer. Includes a rest day in the weekend.
Yes, because Luke, who would normally do a Sunday or often does a Sunday, plays cricket on a Sunday, and by the time he's finished playing cricket in 100-degree heat,
Yes.
at the kind of level he plays, which is, frankly, senior international level,
Senior's probably about right.
he puts a lot of effort in,
I do play
and
for
therefore he's a wreck by Sunday evening.
the drinking helps with that, though. I am a physical wreck. I make a lot of noise getting in and out of chairs by the end of Sunday. Let's put it that way. So, yes. Thank you. So, yes, Monday it is for all of you. Have a lovely day tomorrow, then. And Ben, have a lovely day tomorrow. You and have a lovely day tomorrow.
Thanks, Luke.
I caught many crickets, cows, many. And bats as well.
Lots of bats.
Lots of bats.
And they're found in lockers with the combination 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice.
All of my lockers could be 1, 2, 3, 4 from now. And it makes life easier, I think, having the same code for everything.
Yes. Yes. May all your lockers be so coded.
And on that
Indeed.
bombshell, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, and thank you, viewers. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. We love you all, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.